Chapter 1. The Stranger in the Ruins. The Zyis expanse was a place of mystery and danger, a sector of uncharted space feared even by the bravest explorers. Scattered across its vast void were the remnants of ancient civilizations, planets reduced to rubble, derelict ships the size of small moons, and orbiting relics that defied all understanding. For centuries, it had lured scavengers, scientists, and treasure hunters alike, promising secrets that could rewrite history or technology capable of reshaping the galaxy. Few returned, and those who did came back with harrowing tales. Whispers of unexplainable phenomena, ships vanishing into thin air, and strange encounters that defied reality. Ethan Voss, a scavenger of modest reputation, was not what you'd call a brave man. He preferred calculated risks, chasing salvage jobs in the safer regions of the galaxy. But when a mysterious client offered him an obscene amount of credits to retrieve a particular artifact from the heart of the Zyis expanse, Ethan couldn't resist. His ship, the Stellar Horizon, hummed with life as it navigated through the dense asteroid belt surrounding Kairos 7, a desolate planet at the edge of the expanse. The client had been cryptic, providing only a set of coordinates and vague instructions. Find the temple. Bring back the artifact. Do not linger. Easy money, Ethan muttered to himself, though he didn't entirely believe it. His co-pilot, Delta, a snarky AI housed within the ship systems, disagreed. Statistically speaking, Delta said, her voice dripping with dry humor, your chances of survival are approximately 17%. Give or take a few percentage points if you don't trip over your own feet. Thanks for the vote of confidence, Ethan replied, gripping the controls tightly. His nerves were on edge as the planet's surface came into view, an expanse of jagged terrain cloaked in swirling storms of dust and ash. Delta continued, unbothered by his sarcasm. Kairos 7 has been uninhabited for millennia. Whatever you're looking for down there, you're probably not the first. Ethan sighed. Just keep the ship ready for a quick getaway. The descent. The Stellar Horizon landed with a soft thud on a plateau overlooking a massive crater. Ethan secured his gear, a sturdy environmental suit, a plasma cutter, and a small handheld scanner. The air outside was thin and toxic, laced with trace elements of sulfur and radiation. As the ship's hatch opened, a gust of acrid wind greeted him, carrying the faint scent of decay. Lovely, Ethan muttered, stepping onto the rocky ground. His boots crunched against the loose gravel as he surveyed the area. The scanner in his hand pinged softly, guiding him toward the crater. Delta's voice crackled through his helmet's comm. I've mapped out a path to the coordinates. Try not to die before you get there. Ethan ignored her and began his descent. The crater was vast, its walls lined with jagged spires of crystalline rock that shimmered faintly in the dim light of Kairos's distant star. At the bottom, partially buried under layers of sediment, was what could only be described as a temple, an enormous structure of obsidian-like material, its surface etched with intricate patterns that seemed to pulse faintly. What the hell is this place? Ethan whispered, more to himself than Delta. An architectural anomaly, Delta replied. Possibly pre-celestial era. Translation. Old enough to predate anything we know. Ethan approached the temple's entrance, a towering archway adorned with strange symbols that glowed faintly as he neared. The air grew colder, and an unsettling stillness settled around him. The encounter. The interior of the temple was both awe-inspiring and disorienting. Massive columns stretched upward into darkness, their surfaces covered in glyphs that seemed to writhe when he looked at them directly. The floor was smooth and reflective, as if crafted from liquid metal frozen in time. Ethan's scanner beeped urgently, pulling him from his trance. The artifact was close. He followed the signal deeper into the temple, his footsteps echoing unnaturally. The air grew heavier, charged with an energy that made his skin prickle. Finally, he entered a circular chamber at the heart of the structure. In the center was a pedestal, and atop it rested a small object, crystalline sphere, faintly glowing with an inner light. That's it, Ethan said, approaching cautiously. The artifact. Delta's voice was unusually serious. Ethan, I'm detecting a massive energy signature. Be careful. Ignoring her warning, Ethan reached out and grasped the sphere. The moment his fingers touched its surface, the chamber trembled. Light erupted from the sphere, and Ethan staggered back, clutching the artifact tightly. A low hum filled the air, rising in intensity. Then, from the shadows at the edge of the chamber, a figure emerged. She was tall, her form cloaked in an aura of silvery light that seemed to ripple like water. Her skin was pale, almost translucent, and her eyes glowed with an otherworldly brilliance. She was unmistakably alien, yet there was a haunting beauty to her features. Tears streamed down her face as she looked at Ethan, her expression a mixture of shock, grief, and something else, something deeper. "You," she said, her voice trembling. "It's you." Ethan froze, his mind racing. What are you?" The woman stepped closer, her tears glistening like liquid starlight. "You don't remember me, but I remember you. I've waited for so long." Ethan's heart pounded. "Waited for me? I don't even know who you are." The woman's gaze softened, though her tears did not stop. "You are the one who saved me, the one who gave me hope when I had none." Ethan took a step back, clutching the artifact tightly. "You've got the wrong guy. I've never seen you before in my life." The chamber trembled again, and the glyphs on the walls flared with light. The woman's expression turned urgent. "You must leave. The temple is waking." "What does that mean?" Ethan demanded. "There's no time," she cried, her voice ringing with desperation. "Take the sphere and run. I will find you again." The escape. The ground beneath Ethan's feet shook violently as the temple began to collapse. Chunks of the ceiling fell around him, shattering like glass. He sprinted toward the exit, the artifact clutched tightly in one hand. The alien woman's voice echoed in his mind. "Run. I will find you." Reaching the surface, Ethan radioed Delta. "Get the ship ready. The whole place is coming down." "I noticed," Delta replied dryly. "Try not to get crushed." Ethan scrambled up the crater's edge as the temple collapsed into itself, disappearing in a cloud of dust and light. He reached the stellar horizon just as a shockwave rippled through the ground, nearly knocking him off his feet. The ship's hatch closed behind him, and Delta's holographic avatar appeared on the console. What the hell happened down there? Ethan collapsed into the pilot's seat, gasping for breath. "I don't know, but we're leaving. Now." As the ship lifted off, Ethan glanced at the artifact glowing faintly in his hand. His mind raced with questions. Who was the alien woman? Why did she think she knew him? And what was the true nature of the artifact he now possessed? He didn't have answers, but one thing was certain. This was only the beginning. Chapter 2. The Artifact's Secret. The stellar horizon shot through hyperspace, the stars outside the cockpit stretching into long streaks of light. Inside, Ethan sat at the navigation console, the crystalline artifact resting on the table before him. Its faint glow pulsed rhythmically, as if alive. He couldn't shake the image of the alien woman, her tear-streaked face burned into his memory. "All right," Ethan muttered, tapping the artifact cautiously. "What the hell are you?" Delta's holographic avatar materialized next to him, her arms crossed. "I'd ask the same about that woman you described. Crying and calling you her savior? Sounds like you've been busy." Ethan shot her a look. "I've never met her before in my life, and she knew me by name." Delta raised a digital eyebrow. "Maybe she's confusing you with someone else. Or maybe she's crazy. Either way, this artifact is the real problem. Its energy signature is off the charts." Ethan frowned, glancing at the artifact. "What kind of energy?" "Hard to say," Delta replied. "It's not like anything I've seen before. But whatever it is, it's tied to that temple and her." Ethan leaned back, running a hand through his hair. "She said the temple was waking. What does that mean?" Delta hesitated. "If I had to guess, something big, and not in a good way." A disturbing revelation. Ethan spent hours examining the artifact, running every scan and diagnostic the ship's systems could muster. The results were baffling. The crystalline sphere contained layers of intricate, shifting patterns like a living puzzle. But what caught Ethan's attention was the faint image that appeared when he tilted the artifact just right. It was a face. Her face. Delta noticed it too. "Well, that's creepy." Ethan stared at the image, his chest tightening. What if she's connected to this thing? What if it's alive? "Alive or not," Delta said, "it's putting out a signal. A strong one." Ethan froze. "A signal? To what? Delta's expression turned grim. No idea. But if we can detect it, so can anyone else. The realization hit Ethan like a punch to the gut. We're being tracked. The pursuers. As if on cue, the ship's sensors blared an alarm. Delta pulled up a holographic display of their surroundings. 3 ships were closing in fast, their sleek, angular designs unmistakable. Great, Ethan muttered. Velcaran hunters. The Velcarans were notorious in the galaxy, an ancient, powerful species known for their relentless pursuit of anything they deemed valuable. And they clearly wanted the artifact. Delta's tone was sharp. We've got 2 options, fight or run. Running sounds good, Ethan said, gripping the controls. Let's see if the Horizon still has some speed in her. The ship jolted as Ethan pushed the engines to their limit. The Velcaran ships followed, firing bursts of plasma that lit up the darkness of hyperspace. The Horizon weaved through the chaos, its shields barely holding against the onslaught. We can't outrun them forever, Delta warned. We need a plan. Ethan gritted his teeth. Working on it. A mysterious ally. As the Velcaran ships closed in, a new signal appeared on the scanners, an unidentified ship entering the fray. It was massive, its hull gleaming with an otherworldly light. The Velcaran hunters immediately shifted their focus, turning their fire on the newcomer. What the hell is that? Ethan asked, his eyes wide. Delta's systems struggled to identify the ship. Unknown, but it's not Velcaran. The alien ship unleashed a burst of energy that disabled the Velcaran ships in seconds, leaving them dead in the water. Then, to Ethan's shock, the ship sent a transmission directly to the Horizon. Ethan Voss, a familiar voice said, "It's me." The image of the alien woman appeared on the screen. Her glowing eyes were filled with relief. "I told you I'd find you." Ethan's heart raced. "Who are you? What do you want from me?" The woman smiled faintly. "My name is Aaron, and I'm here to protect you." The truth unveiled. Aaron guided the Horizon to a remote location, a derelict space station, hidden within an asteroid field. Inside the station's hollowed-out core, she met Ethan in person, her presence as luminous and otherworldly as before. Ethan crossed his arms, trying to mask his unease. "Start talking. How do you know me?" Aaron's expression softened. "You don't remember, do you?" "Remember what?" Aaron stepped closer, her voice tinged with sorrow. "You saved me, Ethan. Thousands of years ago, on a dying world. I was trapped, and you risked everything to free me." Ethan shook his head. "That's impossible. I'm human. I don't live for thousands of years." Aaron touched the artifact, its glow intensifying. "The artifact is a fragment of my essence. When you saved me, part of me bonded with you. That bond has tied us together across lifetimes." Ethan stared at her, struggling to process her words. "You're saying, I've lived before?" "Yes," Aaron said. "And you've always been the one to find me." A greater danger. As Aaron spoke, the station's sensors detected another incoming fleet larger and more dangerous than the Velcarans. Aaron's expression darkened. "They found us." "Who?" Ethan asked, his voice tense. "The Eternal Council," Aaron replied. "They are the ones who destroyed my world. They seek to control the artifact's power, and they will stop at nothing to claim it." Ethan turned to Delta, who appeared on a nearby console. "What's the play?" Delta's tone was grim. "We can't fight them. Not with what we've got." Aaron placed a hand on Ethan's shoulder, her touch sending a wave of calm through him. "There's a place we can go. A sanctuary. But we'll have to work together." Ethan nodded, his resolve hardening. "Then let's do it." A bond forged. As the station's defenses activated, Ethan, Aaron, and Delta worked together to prepare the Horizon for a desperate escape. The artifact pulsed with energy, its light syncing with Aaron's aura. Ethan felt the bond between them growing stronger, a connection he couldn't explain but couldn't deny. As they launched into the void, pursued by the Eternal Council's ships, Aaron's voice echoed in his mind. "You've always been my savior, Ethan, and this time, we'll face the darkness together." Chapter 3. Sanctuary and Shadows. The stellar horizon sped through a dense asteroid field, evading the Eternal Council's fleet. Aaron, glowing faintly with energy, stood at Ethan's side as he maneuvered the ship through impossible paths. Her calm presence was both reassuring and unnerving. "They won't stop chasing us," Erin said, her voice steady. "We have to reach the sanctuary before they intercept us." Ethan gritted his teeth, the controls warm under his grip. "You keep saying that like it's just down the road. Where is this sanctuary?" Delta's holographic avatar appeared on the console, her tone clipped. "She's given me the coordinates. It's deep in uncharted space, past the Oblivion Rift." Ethan shot Erin a sharp look. "The Oblivion Rift? That's suicide. No ship makes it through alive." Erin's glowing eyes met his. "We have no choice. The sanctuary is shielded. The Council can't follow us there." Ethan hesitated but nodded. "All right, let's hope you're right." Navigating the rift. The Oblivion Rift was a swirling maelstrom of black holes, gravitational anomalies, and time distortions. As the horizon approached, the ship's sensors lit up with warnings. "Gravitational flux ahead," Delta reported. "If we miscalculate, we'll be stretched into spaghetti." "Comforting," Ethan muttered, gripping the controls tighter. Erin stepped forward, her hands glowing faintly as she touched the console. "The artifact will guide us. Trust me." Ethan watched as the artifact's glow synced with Erin's energy. The swirling chaos of the rift seemed to part slightly, creating a narrow path through the turbulence. Ethan followed her lead, his movements precise. As they navigated the rift, fragments of Erin's past began to surface in Ethan's mind. Images of burning cities, desperate battles, and her sorrowful gaze filled his thoughts. What is this?" he asked, his voice tight. Erin's expression softened. "You're remembering. The bond is awakening your connection to my memories." Ethan shook his head, focusing on the controls. "Well, I'd appreciate it if we could save the flashbacks until after we're not about to die." The sanctuary. After what felt like an eternity, the ship emerged from the rift into a serene pocket of space. Floating before them was a massive structure, an ancient station, shaped like an intricate web of glowing lines and crystalline towers. It radiated a calming energy, as if untouched by time. "This is the sanctum of Orus," Erin said, her voice filled with reverence. "A refuge for those who seek to protect the light." Ethan brought the ship into a docking bay, its smooth walls glowing faintly as the vessel landed. As they disembarked, Erin led Ethan and Delta into the heart of the sanctum. The corridors were lined with flowing symbols that seemed to react to their presence, lighting up as they passed. In the central chamber, a group of alien beings awaited them. Each radiated a unique energy, their forms as diverse as the stars. At the center stood an imposing figure with crystalline skin and eyes that glowed with wisdom. "Guardian Thelos," Erin said, bowing her head. "I've returned." Thalos's voice resonated like a low hum. "And you've brought the artifact. And the human." Ethan stepped forward, his gaze wary. "So, you know me too?" Thelos nodded. "You are the one who has lived 1,000 lives, each time chosen to protect the balance." Ethan frowned. "That's a lot to dump on a guy who's just trying to survive." "The artifact's purpose." Thelos gestured for them to follow. He led them to a large chamber where the artifact began to glow brighter, floating from Ethan's hands to hover above a circular platform. "This artifact," Thelos explained, "is a fragment of the core of eternity, an ancient source of energy that sustains balance across the universe. The Eternal Council seeks to control it, to twist its power for domination." Ethan crossed his arms. "And what am I supposed to do about that?" "You are the anchor," Thelos said. "Your bond with Erin connects you to the core. Only together can you protect it." Ethan glanced at Erin, his expression uncertain. "Why me? Why not someone else?" Erin stepped closer, her voice gentle. "Because you've always been willing to fight for what's right, no matter the cost. Across lifetimes, you've chosen to stand with me." Ethan sighed. "Sounds like a lot of responsibility for one guy." Thalos's gaze hardened. "If you do not act, the Council will destroy all that remains of balance. The choice is yours." The Council's arrival. Before Ethan could respond, alarms blared through the sanctum. Delta's voice crackled over the comm. "Hate to interrupt your existential crisis, but the Eternal Council just entered the system, and they're bringing a fleet." Thalos's expression darkened. "They found us." Ethan turned to Erin. "You said this place was shielded. They must have traced the artifact's signal, Erin said, her light dimming. We have to defend the sanctum. Delos raised a hand. Our defenses will hold them off, but we must prepare for the worst. Ethan, Erin, the artifact's power must be sealed before it falls into their hands. Ethan nodded, his resolve hardening. What do we need to do? The final stand. As the Eternal Council's fleet began its assault, Ethan and Erin worked to activate the sanctum's core. The artifact pulsed with energy, syncing with the sanctum's ancient systems. Erin's light grew brighter, her bond with the artifact deepening. Outside, the sanctum's defenses unleashed beams of energy that tore through the council's ships, but the fleet was massive, and the sanctum's shield began to falter. In the control room, Delta's voice rang out. We're running out of time. If you're gonna do something, do it now. Ethan turned to Erin. What happens when we seal the artifact? Erin hesitated. Its energy will disperse, breaking the council's hold over it. But the process will strain the bond. What does that mean? Ethan asked, his chest tightening. It means we might not survive, Erin said, her voice trembling. But it's the only way. Ethan placed a hand on her shoulder, his gaze steady. Then we do it. Together. The core's power. As they activated the core, the sanctum's chamber filled with blinding light. The artifact floated between them, its energy intertwining with theirs. Ethan felt the bond surge, memories of his past lives flooding his mind. He saw himself fighting beside Erin on countless worlds, standing against impossible odds. He saw the moments they'd shared, the sacrifices they'd made. And he understood. We've done this before, Ethan said, his voice filled with awe. And we'll do it again. Erin smiled through her tears. You always find me. The artifact released a final burst of energy, its light spreading across the sanctum and into the void. The Eternal Council's fleet was thrown into chaos, their ships collapsing under the force of the blast. A new beginning. When the light faded, Ethan and Erin found themselves standing in the sanctum, the artifact now dim and inert. The Eternal Council's fleet had been destroyed, and the sanctum was safe. Ethan turned to Erin. We did it. She smiled, her light soft but steady. For now. Delos entered the chamber, his expression solemn. The balance is restored, but the fight is far from over. The council will return. Ethan nodded, his resolve firm. Then we'll be ready. As the sanctum's lights dimmed, Ethan and Erin stood side by side, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Together, they would protect the balance and each other. Chapter 4. The Eternal Choice. The sanctum of Orus was quiet now, its defenses holding firm in the aftermath of the Eternal Council's assault. In the central chamber, Ethan Voss and Erin stood before the dormant artifact, its once brilliant light now dim and inert. The threat had been averted, but the weight of their actions and the knowledge of what still lay ahead pressed heavily upon them. Is it over? Ethan asked, breaking the silence. Guardian Delos entered the chamber, his crystalline skin glowing faintly. For now, the sanctum is safe, but the council will not stop. They will return, and their next assault will be even more relentless. Erin's glowing eyes shifted to Ethan. We've delayed them, but we haven't stopped them. The core of eternity is still fractured, and as long as it remains so, the balance of the universe hangs by a thread. Ethan ran a hand through his hair, his mind racing. What are we supposed to do? Fight off fleets for the rest of our lives? Thalos's voice was grave. The core must be restored. Only then can its power be shielded from those who would misuse it. But doing so will require a sacrifice. Ethan's eyes narrowed. What kind of sacrifice? The revelation. Delos gestured to the dormant artifact. The core was shattered eons ago, its fragments scattered across the galaxy. Each fragment carries a piece of its original energy, and each must be reassembled to restore the core. And where do we fit into that? Ethan asked, though he suspected the answer. Delos turned his gaze to Erin. Your bond with the artifact is unique. It is tethered to your essence, Erin, and to Ethan's through the lives you have shared. Only by merging completely with the core can its power be reassembled. Ethan's stomach dropped. Merging? What does that mean? It means becoming one with the core, Delos said solemnly. You would cease to exist as you are now, but your essence would live on within the core, preserving the balance of the universe. Erin's light dimmed, her expression pained. I knew this might be the outcome. It is the duty of my kind. Ethan's heart pounded. No, there has to be another way. The council strikes back. Before the Los could respond, alarms blared through the sanctum once more. Delta's voice crackled over the comms. Hate to break up the heartfelt moment, but the Eternal Council just jumped back into the system and they've brought reinforcements. The Los turned sharply, his expression grim. They're relentless. If they breach the sanctum again, they will claim the artifact and its knowledge. Ethan's jaw clenched. Then we fight. No, Erin said firmly. This time, we finish it. She stepped toward the artifact, her hands glowing as she reached out to touch its surface. The dormant crystal flared to life, and the sanctum's walls began to hum with energy. What are you doing? Ethan demanded, stepping toward her. Erin turned to him, her expression calm but resolute. The core must be restored, Ethan. This is the only way. A final stand. As the Eternal Council's fleet descended upon the sanctum, its defenders prepared for a last stand. The Los and his warriors activated ancient weapons, their energy beams slicing through the void. Delta coordinated the sanctum's automated defenses, her tone uncharacteristically focused. We can't hold them off forever, Delta warned. Whatever you're doing, do it fast. Ethan turned to Erin, his voice desperate. There has to be another way. You can't just sacrifice yourself. Erin smiled softly, her light growing brighter. This isn't just my choice, Ethan. It's ours. Across lifetimes, we've faced this moment. And every time, we've chosen to protect the balance. Ethan's heart ached. I don't remember any of that. But I do, Erin said, her voice filled with quiet strength. And I've never regretted it. The artifact pulsed, its energy spreading through the sanctum. Erin's form began to blur, her light merging with the core's glow. Ethan's choice. As the artifact's energy intensified, Ethan felt the bond between him and Erin pulling at his very soul. Memories of their shared past flooded his mind, lives spent fighting, loving, and sacrificing together. He saw the worlds they had saved, the people they had protected, and the countless times they had stood against impossible odds. And he realized the truth. You don't have to do this alone, Ethan said, stepping closer to her. We started this together, and we'll finish it together. Erin's eyes widened. Ethan, no, you don't have to dash. Yes, I do, he said, his voice steady. I've always stood by you, and I'm not stopping now. He placed his hands on the artifact beside hers. The core flared with light, enveloping them both in a radiant glow. Their essences merged with the artifact, their bond strengthening as they became one with the core. The aftermath. The sanctum erupted with energy, a shockwave spreading across the system and obliterating the Eternal Council's fleet. The core of eternity, now fully restored, floated above the sanctum's platform, its light pulsating with a steady, calming rhythm. The Los and the sanctum's defenders watched in awe as the artifact's energy stabilized. The sanctum systems hummed with new life, their power drawn from the restored core. Delta's voice crackled over the comms. Well, I'll be damned. They did it. The Los bowed his head, his voice filled with reverence. The balance is restored. Their sacrifice will be remembered. A new legacy. Though Ethan and Erin's physical forms were gone, their presence lingered within the core. Across the galaxy, the balance of power began to shift. The Eternal Council, weakened and scattered, could no longer threaten the peace of the universe. In the sanctum, the Los stood before the core, his gaze solemn. You have done what none before you could. Your bond has saved countless lives. And in the quiet hum of the core's light, a faint whisper echoed Erin and Ethan's voices, together. We will always protect the light.